I understand that you all had requested the meeting.
Yes.
So why don't we, with that in mind, we'll let you all start off and talk about what led you to request the meeting and raise any issues with us and with what's going on in Pine Hills.
Okay, I am the person who raised the issue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a subscriber
Mm-hmm.
to the Orlando Sentinel. I have to have it with my breakfast each morning.
Mm-hmm. No, we're grateful for your support.
But in your Sunday, December 7th edition, you had an article on the Elevate program and your family fund. You highlighted the McMiller family who lives in Orlando. And in reading the article, I became very, I should say, stressed because I looked at a quote from the McMiller family which said, "Living in Pine Hills, also known as Crime Hills, the news every morning is who got killed. Right now we are in our little world and it's a fishbowl and there's nothing happening there but bad things." They had nothing but bad things to say about Pine Hills. And my first thought was, what have they been doing all of these years? Where are they? They don't have no idea what's going on. They are not active in the community. We have done so much in the last few years to improve. You have written some complimentary articles, reports on Pine Hills, and yet something like this is a step backwards. We take a step forward and then, two steps forward and then a step backwards. So I just thought it was not good. In addition, we had met with you, I don't know, about 4 or 5 years ago on this very same subject. And I thought it was a dead issue. We hadn't seen it in some time, so we were giving you praise, and that's what disturbed me when this cropped up again. I wondered if the reporter was aware of this, that we had met with you and there was kind of a, moratorium on this. So that was just my thought, and I thought we should just come down and maybe remind you of some of the things that's happening in Pine Hills.
Well, one of the things, if you go to the website NID, you find some of the reports that are there. And I thought maybe one of the problems that the residents had is the fact that they did not know what we had been working on. And this goes back to a report from Renaissance, which is dated 2004. And I think I can feel sometimes the size of Orange County, since we're not an incorporated government, can be challenging, especially if the people are coming from outside the Florida area. And this is probably an example. This is when I came down in '99, this was an abandoned gas station, and was in this report that we had for developing the Pine Hills corner in particular and the overall area. And it has taken from 2004 to 2015 to get this situation resolved. And this is the Renaissance that we have. And it ties in with the thing that you covered. And I don't know if they had understood how hard it was to get the Evans High School straightened out because of the fact the school board wished to move it. We, being the Pine Hills Council, supported the school department because they are the school department and had merit, and that never got through the county commissioners, and now they're having another problem. But this has happened. We now have a B school at Evans. It has grown from 1,200 students to 2,700 students. Also, at Evans High School, not only is it a B school, they now are trying to redistrict because there are too many kids trying to go to it, which is a big accomplishment. And I do not know if you want me to, and will later, go into more details on what we have put together for programs, but I think it's how do we communicate to a larger audience. Luckily, we have Beth Kassabs, who has had several articles supporting our attempts to come up with our own advisory council to make Pine Hills a village. The wellness center that has opened up at Evans High School just this past week. So I thought, in one respect, that we had had good relationship with the Sentinel. Mm-hmm. And then we have this one article, and maybe it's the Chuck Nicole in the Sea of Diamonds, but it seems that if we weren't at a tipping point in my mind of getting people to recognize Pine Hills is going ahead, I think that maybe we may have overlooked it, but it's like the trash line that was in the last article that we came 4 years ago. There are just certain things which upset us because we're trying to say we are people who have taken and are progressing in our neighborhood. And the neighborhood is actually an example of what Orange County is going to be, a diverse neighborhood of many cultures.
Mm-hmm. Well, I should make clear that we are the editorial board. We don't supervise the news reporters. We don't assign them to stories. We don't edit their stories. But what we can do is offer either letters to the editor or guest column space where if you want to respond to something that's been in a news report, it's a good way to get another view out there to respond or rebut something that's been in a news report, and is a prominent way to put another narrative out there if you feel like another narrative needs to be put out there. So I would encourage you, when you see something like the quote that you pointed out in the December 7th story, to not just do a slow burn, but to write a letter or to write a guest column, and I think we'd certainly look favorably on finding a spot for it to publish on the op-ed page, or if it's just a letter, find a spot in the letters section. But in addition, we welcome meetings like this where you can bring us up to date. It's useful to us if we're ever writing an editorial to know, to be brought up to date about all the things that are going on in the community, because it does sound like that you all have a good story to tell.
Thank you. There are a few things, I don't know if you are aware of it. We spoke to Deputy Spears in the Sheriff's Department, and he says that, the numbers are down. We're crime is down in Pine Hills. They are proactive in their patrol of Pine Hills, and so they are monitoring people who may have a record of what and come into the community. They are keeping track of those people. So that's good for us, and it helps to keep crime down. We have other things. We have anti-litter programs. We are working with 2 of the middle schools, Meadowbrook and Robbinswood, along with Evans, for that. We have a campaign going on with code enforcement right now, to rid the community, all of Orange County, to rid it of the signs, the proliferation of illegal signs. And we are now, we've come up with a proposal, and we're asking the mayor to, to help us, to tell us what the next step is. But I'll just mention that briefly, but we are involved in that. They have a program to, along with trying to eliminate these illegal signs, they have a program to paint the traffic signals, the posts. That will, they post a lot of signs on those posts, and so now they have artists working. I think NID is running this, so that's on the way. That should be coming through very soon.
And maybe that's a perfect example. The city of Orlando has had painted communication boxes, for lack of a better name, for about 4 years, if not 5. The county only permitted the wrapping of those boxes. We've had volunteers from Evans High School and other artists interested in painting it, and one of the things was the liability. Well, finally the Orange County government has relented and now is permitting artists to paint things. And I think one of the things is that the advantage of size, meaning that we have an Orange County school system that gave us Evans High School, that we're able to work with, but it takes time. And I think the challenge, especially if you do not come from Florida and you come from a northern state, is that the government units are usually smaller. All right? And schools are usually in a small system. Polices are in a small system. So therefore, when you say something, it gets done very quickly.
Yeah.
And I think that Orange County, because of its size, does require more input. I know that I've had to adjust. And one of the reasons I brought this report is the fact 2004 was when the report was written. It is now 2014.
15.
Yes, 2015, you're right.
Yeah.
That we finally are getting action done. We had the Pine Hills Task Force, which is now 8 years old, to get to the NID, which took a whole year to get the membership put together. We are trying to get some restructuring of how that membership is put together, because the law says it can only be an owner of property. We would like it to be able that an owner could appoint someone, partly because the owners of a small business don't have time to come to meetings and do what we do at meetings, talk. They're trying to keep their business open. But they can't ask a wife who is not involved in the business to do things because of the way the law is written. So we're working with the state senate and the state representatives to put 3 changes into that law. Now this is coming through the Pine Hills Council. We're trying to get the county commissioners to approve it. But I think this is an example of the unincorporated areas of Orange County working within the system. And I think that we have a record in Pine Hills of always trying to push for change, but push for change within the system as opposed to going out around and other ways, which may sound faster in one area, and we have tried faster means, but it always is the commissioners and state representatives that we work with to get these changes done fundamentally for a long term. I think the NID is probably the best example. And working with Jerry Presley, a good example of how he, I think, knows his stuff, but also he is also working with the system of taking Orange County and getting involved more into city government and still being a county government.
Tell me who the state legislators are who represent the Pine Hills area.
Randolph Bracy,
Geraldine
Bruce
Thompson.
Anton, and Geraldine Thompson.
Okay. And you want a local, what they call up in Tallahassee, a local bill that would ease the restrictions on the kind of people who can be involved in a neighborhood improvement district, so that there's more flexibility there?
Yes, because it's a state law which created the neighborhood improvement districts.
Yeah.
And the state law for Florida was set up that, and I assume that what they wanted to do is make sure that it would be local small business that would control the district, because the NID can do something, it can increase your taxes. All right? And the nicest thing about the law from a business standpoint is it's business people taxing themselves,
Yeah.
as opposed to having just the government entity tax. So therefore, at the end of the process, there is a vote by the people business owners in the district to go through that process. A little complicated. All the county commissioners have to agree to it, and then it will be sent out on a plebiscite. The NID board would be the one that would do the recommendation. And it's a matter of getting a fully functional NID board. And the challenge we have in Pine Hills is the percentage of business owners who actually live in Pine Hills and the people who actually have the time to take from their business to put into the meetings for the NID. And it may sound very simple if you're not in business yourself and not a small business. It's much easier for a business like Publix, all right, or Winn-Dixie, to send a representative, because they've got 50 people in their store. Store manager goes, someone can take his place. So what's 2 hours out of a day? But you take a single proprietorship business where the person is running it themselves, they're putting in their 14 hours a day to serve customers. They don't have the backup. And it's a matter of finding the right people who can do that.
How many people are on the NID board?
7.
7.
The chairman is Tim Haverkamp, who's had his business in Pine Hills for 20 years. Graduate of Evans High School.
And they have come up with their improvement plan, neighborhood improvement plan, which is going through the process now with the Planning and Zoning Board and the BCC. So this is, I just wanted to show it to you that this is something that they hope to have a final hearing on it in July of this year, adoption of the plan.
Also related to that is we're trying to create a second NID for West Colonial called Colonial West, which would involve the businesses on West Colonial. And the reason there are 2 districts is that one of the things is that businesses vote according to their size or their property values. So therefore, the West Colonial businesses, which include Highland Lake, which is not Samson, forgetting the name of the real estate firm. They own the Florida Mall. Why do I keep saying Simon property. They are a Simon property. So therefore, if you take the value of a Simon property versus all of our little small businesses, they could outvote it. So we now have 2 districts, one with our larger, more national businesses on West Colonial, and one for our smaller. And again, it goes back to our businesses are also more ethnic. For example, Pine Hills has a 15% ownership by Asians, when statewide it's only 1%. So it's a matter of bringing in people who want to invest in that area.
I was curious about one of the chief issues that brought you in was a reputational issue, the way that Pine Hills is perceived. And you talked about the December 7th story and the quotation in that piece. That, of course, was not something that an Orlando Sentinel columnist wrote as an opinion. This was something said by someone living in Pine Hills. So the perception is within your own people. So my question is, and it goes to something you said, that you guys may not be doing a good enough job to let people know what you're actually doing to improve Pine Hills. Can you talk about what you're doing to let people know that this image of Crime Hills has faded and that you guys have moved on to bigger and better things?
I think that's a fair question, and it goes in two directions. The initial Crime Hills came about before I even came down to the area. It came from a radio station, and it went along with the change in the cultures that are moving into Pine Hills. And I personally think that it was a quick label that someone could stick onto it. Also, at the same time, you had the growth of Orange County, so that's back in the 1970s, 80s. And that, I think, is the catalyst for one statement that sort of hung in there. And I think that as a group we've done a good job from radio to newspapers to try to shoot it down. And I think that one of the things is that if my wife's favorite beach is Myrtle Beach, therefore it's my favorite beach, so we go up there, and when I listen to radio and TV in Myrtle Beach, it's the same situation as in Pine Hills and in Orange County. If it bleeds, it leads. And I think this may be one of the things that right now it's a cultural thing that the media is. And what we're trying to do in one respect is row upstream when Myrtle Beach, it's all the same kind of stories that we have in Orlando. And therefore, if I'm just an average citizen living in Myrtle Beach or Orange County, I'm not getting confidence out of my government being in control. And I think that kind of confidence is part of the how do we deal with the media, because your job is to sell advertising. Myrtle Beach's job is to sell advertising on the TV and radio. And there I think may be a conflict which may never be resolved. I do know that we have put out stories, if it was not for Beth Cassat, for example, things that she has picked up on from our banners, which we still have not been able to get because of the difficulties of getting the Orange County utilities to give us the waivers that we need for the banners to put on the poles, to the idea of creating a village called Pine Hills. There is the challenge.
Well, some of the other things that we've done, neighborhood watch programs. We encourage HOAs to set up a neighborhood watch. We have the COPS program, the Civilians on Patrol, and they are really active in several of our neighborhoods, and they are respected. In my neighborhood, they patrol during school hours to make sure the children are safe walking back and forth through the neighborhood.
What kind of compliance do you have with the neighborhood watch programs? I mean, are they very active? Because I have a neighborhood watch program in my community, and I couldn't tell you if anybody's a captain or whatnot. So
yeah, well, some of them have captains, and we need to expand it. But in my particular neighborhood, yes, we are active. We keep watch on things. We will call one another, and this is as I said, several neighborhoods have it, but it's something that we need to expand. Even Deputy Spears talked about that the other day. The COP program has been very successful, and they are respected. They can do a lot of things to improve the neighborhood. People walking, illegal parking among them. Safe Neighborhood gives grants to HOAs, communities, to beautify their neighborhood. They need a neighborhood sign. They need to spruce up their entrance. We've even gotten grants to put numbers on the sidewalk. We usually put them underneath the mailboxes so that people coming in, or emergency vehicles, can see them. And those are some of the things. You encourage people to maintain their property. That's what the HOAs are about. And we're getting the HOAs involved in this code program, that, you know, the litter program, the illegal signs. So those are the things that, some of the things that we are doing through Safe Neighborhood.
Now, the Pine Hills Council, does that hold regular meetings that are open to the community?
The first Tuesday of the month.
And what kind of attendance are you getting there?
We're getting around, I'd say 20 to 30 people. I think last time we had about 50. Well, not the last meeting when we were sworn in by the county commissioners. Brian Nelson was there. So therefore, on that one, we had about 40 to 50 people.
Oh, and speaking of the commissioners, they have been very supportive of our efforts. Commissioner Brummer and Commissioner Moore, they worked together to set up a lot of programs for us, and the new commissioners are doing the same. As a matter of fact, they have a contest going, what is that, on the cleanup program in the Silver Star corridor between the District 2 and District 6. So that's going to be taken sometime in May, I think it's set up for. And the two districts are going to compete to see who does a better job. But
Well, I think that, and also the challenges that we've taken on is that Doug Head, who I happen to like, I'm friends with, he wanted to move our district farther west so that they could create an Hispanic district. What that would mean is that District 2, which shares it in District 6, the advantage of having two county commissioners, it gives us two voices on the county commission. It would have given us one county commissioner. And Pine Hills Council had worked to maintain the fact of having two county commission districts, which is sort of contrary to what other people wanted, but it has worked out well being able to keep that balance. Commissioner Brummer has been very helpful in maintaining the fact that we'd be able to keep Evans High School. And Senator Sipling helped the fact of changing the law to allow us to remove all the buildings at Evans High School to build up. We've had to work with many people in many different areas to keep Pine Hills a functioning area, as opposed to just a neighborhood. Paul, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to email you this, but one of the
Okay.
things I was going to suggest is that I am concerned about some facts that you may not know. This is Pine Hills, okay? And there we are, right there, but we are an unincorporated area.
Right.
Therefore, we are now a census-designated place, which means from the Census Department and getting all that information, we function the same as an incorporated municipality without the government. So we work with our county commissioners, but we function very much like a town. And there are 25 to 35,000 households in Pine Hills. And this gives us an example of the neighborhoods. Now, one of the challenges again goes back to Pinkie lives in an area that was developed in the 1980s. I live in an area that was developed in the 1970s. She has a mandatory homeowners association.
no.
I have a volunteer
No,
association.
mine is voluntary.
Oh,
Yes.
yours is volunteer. But in that area,
It
you
works
have,
well. No.
they have mandatory. So the Hiawassee Laurel Hills section has mandatory. It's sort of like Hunters Creek. Hunters Creek is about a little smaller than Pine Hills, but not much geographically, but has 1/3 of the population. But they have a mandatory homeowners association. So therefore, they get dues, they get the newsletter, they do all those little things that homeowners associations do, but they don't have to go trotting down to the Board of County Commissioners zoning to protest something that they want to change the zoning. One of the things is defending the zoning as it is and trying to do those progressive things. That is one of the challenges of an unincorporated area in Orange County. It's not an impossible situation, but it makes more pressure upon unpaid citizens to do something that other people get paid for. And this is our Evans High School, which we're very proud of the changes that were made there. This is the Pine Hills Trail. In fact, you had a nice article. But this is the Pine Hills Trail, which initially was going to be built 8 years ago. Now it is just getting built again. But it is running from, this is Silver Star, north all the way up to Barnett Park and Alhambra. That is going to have a big change in our community. It is going to be linked eventually to Shingle Creek, which means that you'll be able to go from Seminole County to Osceola County. But at the same time, we're getting completed, hopefully in the near future, the Coast to Coast Trail, which will join the Pine Hills Trail to the Clarkona extension that will then go into the West Orange Trail. We are becoming a hub area. Now, one of the things is the fact that from an income standpoint, we have actually had an income a little higher than the average in Orange County. And I'm going to send you all this information so I don't have to keep, and you don't have to keep writing it down, because I know statistics and writing things down are not easy. But I'm going to send you all this information about Pine Hills to give you a little bit better idea of what we have. And I'll send that to Paul. And this is what we want to do to Pine Hills Road.
Town center.
Mm-hmm.
So we are on the way, but it's still, when you talk about the basics which is happening here, goes back to a study report dated back to 2004.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you about the unincorporated nature. I mean, is this always going to be tilting at windmills as long as Pine Hills is unincorporated? Do you need something beyond unincorporation to get accomplished your goals for the community?
If we can get the second NID,
Mm-hmm.
that means that the commercial properties on West Colonial and on Silver Star and Pine Hills Road and Hiawassee would therefore have the ability to tax themselves to a limited state.
Right.
If we were an incorporated area, then we'd be doing the same thing. The difference is residential and commercial taxes would go up at the same time. Now, do I believe that we should be a municipality? Yes. Do I think eventually we will become a municipality? The answer is yes. But the challenges to becoming a municipality come in two directions. If instantaneously we snapped our finger and became a municipality, would Orange County be a stronger county? There's the first challenge to the question. Would the other municipalities in Orange County be stronger because of it? I think it must be a win-win situation where the cities of Orange County and Orange County win with the process of us being incorporated. And I think that requires us working with the system. Now, I'm one of these optimists, and I believe that we can do it. But if nothing happens and things keep going on as they are, and we cannot solve our problems, the people of Pine Hills will find a way of getting ourselves incorporated.
I think that answers all of my questions.
Okay. Was there anything that we didn't ask you about that you wanted, any other points that you wanted to make? I hope you will send me that.
I will send that to you.
Okay.
Assuming, because I know, oh, here it is. I know that with Beth and everyone else, I have their email and I have your email.
Yes, okay.
So I will send that. And I will then give you a telephone call to make sure that you have received it in case it's too large to get through the Ethernet or whatever it is.
All right.
Overload.
And I want to reiterate a point I made earlier, and that is, I mean, you have my email and phone number, but if you want to respond and share your view with all of our readers, write us a letter, write us a guest column. If it's a challenge, the one good thing about doing it by email is you can have a quick response. If we have something in the paper on December 7th that you want to respond to, there's a chance your letter will get in on December 8th, or your guest column will get in on December 8th. We have a different, the email address to go directly to our letters editor is insight@orlandosentinel.com, insight@orlandosentinel.com. But I mean, if you want to send it to me or to Daryl, we can reroute it to go to the letters editor.
But I will make a comment this way. Whenever we've had a reporter from the Sentinel, all right, I've given them a tour of Pine Hills, and then they move on to bigger, better jobs.
Right.
So that may be the nature of the business of newspapers. But when I was back at Massachusetts, there was not that much turnover. Therefore, they could figure out the political system and figure out when a elected representative made a statement, and then 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road, they weren't keeping their word.
Mm.
And this is one of the things about the newspapers can do that we can't do. All right, we can holler and we can say we won't elect you again, but basically the art of getting elected the first time is also the art of getting reelected. So you can choose where you're going to do things. And we're dependent upon you, and I think that's one of the things about coming to the Sentinel, of keeping that up. That's why I mentioned Beth. Beth is one, I've given her a tour of Pine Hills, and she hasn't been fired.
Well, good to talk to you this morning.
Okay.
And let's keep the lines of communication open.
Well,
Thanks for your response.
Sure.
Your prompt response.
And I'm also a subscriber, so therefore, I do not think, all right, that you hate us or anything. I think it's a matter of keeping the information flowing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I think part of it is that if we have a turnover of reporters, I remember getting a call, when I first moved down here and I became president or something, and there was some sort of violent action, a rape or something, and they said that would not be reported in Pine Hills, but it would be reported in Windermere, and I think it's the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. Windermere controls the amount of information coming out of Windermere much better than we can in Pine Hills.
Mm-hmm. Okay.